I am LaWanna Bradford, here with you on E360 TV. And I'm so excited because this is a very special edition. Check it out behind me. We have that way. I'm a best-selling author. My latest book, I Pledge Allegiance, A Journey Through the Words That Shaped the Nation, premiered as a bestseller on Amazon in the category of history of race and ethnicity. I'm so excited because this book was actually something that I stumbled upon, and I'm saying stumbled upon. It wasn't part of my existing manuscripts that I've been writing, but during the course of this year, with all the changes that are happening in the United States, I found myself looking at the news one particular day, and the words of I Pledge of Allegiance just began to go over and over and over in my mind. So I began to journal my thoughts. And after a couple of weeks, I realized, you know what? As I was digging and exploring and doing my own introspection and assessment of where I stand in this United States of America at this time, I realized that I had some makings of a book. And I thought, I want to put pen to paper and let's see where this takes us. The great thing about this has been this amazing journey of seeing where we debuted overall as high as in all categories of history and race and ethnicity. We ranked as high as 39. In new releases, we held number 1 for 2 weeks. And then we bounced between 2 and 3 and, back and forth. Right now we're at number 2. So it's just been a great and exhilarating ride. And today I'm just excited because I get to bring to you some individuals who have been a part of supporting me in this initiative, but also some readers of this book to give you their perspective of what their thoughts are and how this book has perhaps moved them, caused them to think of things in a slightly different way. We'll be right back for more of I Pledge Allegiance, A Journey Through the Words That Shaped the Nation. Or you can get your copy of this book right now on Kindle. I Pledge Allegiance, A Journey Through the Words That Shaped the Nation. It is a bestseller. I'm excited. I have done many books before, but I have been a collaborative author in books and have held the title as best-selling author. But this time, this is my solo project. So I want to encourage you, please get your copy. I'm also going to share with you a couple of clips from a few interviews that I've held recently, just talking about this book, why I wrote it, and what it's all about.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. So glad you guys can join us once again. For those tuning in on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and on X, we're glad to have you all with us today. We're glad to connect with our friends over on Amazon so we can bring in and introduce today's guest. I'm excited about this. I've had a chance to interview our next guest before, but this is our first time on our Amazon Live platform to talk about her brand new project. So I'm excited about that. And we're now live on Amazon Live with Cyrus Webb Presents. If you guys are new to us on the Amazon Amazon platform, welcome, and type you guys a welcome message there. Make sure you guys do hit that follow button, though, either in this corner or down below. You also will see the Kindle edition of my next guest book. We're excited to welcome LaWanna Bradford to our broadcast today. You guys know her as an entrepreneur. She's a media personality. She's been a best-selling author before with collaborative projects, but now she's an Amazon bestseller with her own project that you guys can see there in our carousel. The book is called I Pledge Allegiance, A Journey Through the World, The Words That Shaped a Nation. We're going to talk to LaWanna not only about the new book that's officially out on July the 22nd, but also what it's been like for her to see the early response to it. LaWanna, my friend, welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Cyrus. I'm excited. It's my first time on Amazon Live.
Yeah, I'm excited about it too. And as I mentioned, you've been a part of other projects before, so your name does appear on Amazon. But how does it feel, LaWanna, to be able to have your own project now be a bestseller on Amazon?
There are no words. It's been one of those long-standing bucket lists. You and I have been talking about this for years, and to finally have it completed it's a good feeling that it's, my independent voice, especially about this particular topic. And it took a lot of courage to step out and write this. So I'm excited to see what the world thinks.
Let's talk about that. You talk about the courage, and it is a different type of book. When you and I were first talking about this particular project, this is not the book I thought you were going to be coming out of the gate with as a solo project. Why was this book the right one to start with, LaWanna?
I think the timing, it's like the perfect storm. So at the time when I began writing the book, just dealing with the journey of the loss of my father, as you know, which was this past September, and the change that was happening in the nation. And I just woke up one day thinking about where we were going as a country and what did it really mean, and telling up the experience. Mm-hmm. And what I found in the journaling, it was getting richer and richer. And I thought, you know what? I think I may have some beginnings of a book here. And that's how I penned I Pledge Allegiance, A Journey Through the Words That Shaped a Nation.
Yeah. Cornelia, hello to you over there on Facebook. Cornelia says, so excited for you. I can't wait to read it. Well, you'll have your chance officially tomorrow, Cornelia, for those who are joining us live, to be able to get the Kindle edition. You guys can pre-order it today, so it'll be waiting on your Kindle on device or your PC when you guys get up in the morning. Now, it's interesting, though, you mentioned a couple times here, LaWanna, about the times we're living in. And I think for many people, that means a lot of different things. A lot of people are feeling a lot of angst, anxiety. They're not feeling a lot of hope, but this is a project that you have talked to me about that you feel like does provide hope. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, and this particular manuscript, Cyrus, is really my personal journey of unpackaging the Pledge of Allegiance. These 27 words are so powerful, and they were shaped to provide hope. But then how do you set hope on top of chaos, right? On top of confusion and anxiety and stress and everything that's happening in the world around us, not just in this country. And it goes back for me into tapping into my truth and who I am and the lens in which I view the world. And this book is a challenge for everyone not to look at the world through my lens. But if you were raised in this country and indoctrinated through these words called a Pledge Allegiance, what does it really mean to you? And where does your truth lie? And how does it align with your value systems? And for me, it is a declaration of hope. It is a promise that if we, the individual, can make change within our respective sphere of influence, then that creates a ripple effect that can then transcend families, communities, countries, and ultimately the world. But change first starts within, before we can begin seeing it with beyond ourselves.
You mentioned the word influence, LaWanna, and I want to talk about that in the lens of how people have gotten to know you. Now, they know you for a lot of different things. They know you as an entrepreneur. They know you from your work you've done with the Bradford Group. They've definitely now gotten to know you, through being a thought leader, a media personality. You have your own shows that you host. What has that been like for you to tap into your own personal influence and let people get to know more about LaWanna Bradford, the person?
Well, that's thanks to you, Cyrus. We'll rewind about 4 years ago. Cyrus and I, we've known each other for 17 years. But one of the things you challenged me with about 4 years ago, you said, LaWanna, you're doing this great job at amplifying your business, the Bradford Group, the things that Bradford Group does, and even amplifying others. But who are you? And honestly, Cyrus, I may not have told you this part, but that really bothered me because I thought, okay, you know me all this time. What do you mean, who am I? But I realized that I was getting very comfortable in hiding behind my business brand. Mm. And it was a challenge to say, wait a minute, I do have a unique voice. My business is an extension of me, but it's not me. And having the courage to step out and identify and share with the world what's important to me, why I do what I do, why the Bradford Group even exists. It's more than just making money. It's about creating a means for individuals to have hope, to build sustainable communities. And then from there, I just started to unpackage more of my story and my why. But it took a lot of courage to get there because I didn't realize that I was wearing the mask of my company.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that, LaWanna. Now, the reason why I was able to have that conversation with my friend LaWanna is because I had done the same thing. I had been guilty, and I've talked about this, of kind of hiding behind conversations instead of really letting people get to know Cyrus Webb. And so, they say, real recognizes real. And I could recognize that LaWanna was doing the exact same thing that I was doing. So I'm so glad, though, that now you've allowed us to be able to see. And it's so interesting, once you made that decision, going back to what you were saying about influence, about the book, LaWanna, the doors that have opened up for you. You had a media campaign that you went on. I think was it around the Super Bowl, I think, a couple years ago?
Yeah, the Super Bowl media campaign, which was amazing.
Yeah, and so many other things have happened. And one thing you've shared with us before, and I'm looking forward to that book, is you've been able to take us on these walk-in talks with you, what you call your strategic insights. I want to talk about those for a moment because I feel like there's an interesting connection with the book in this. Because in order to turn the camera on yourself, to share these insights that you have, these stories, these experiences, that really does show the importance of your story, but also the impact your story can have on others. What has that been like for you to use those opportunities, LaWanna, to not only to share, but to see how people are impacted by it?
Well, the strategic insights started, a couple years ago because I always do my morning walks, and that's when it's just my time to get grounded, to connect with God, and to be inspired for my day, however that day is going to unfold. And I just thought, why don't I share some of this that I'm getting for me, and maybe it'll bless other people. And then it just started growing from there. I mean, sometimes I'll get on my soapbox and I'll go a long time, but I've learned now to compact it down to really digestible pieces to help people think, wow, she's gone through that. I can relate to that. I've had a bad day too, or, I'm sort of stuck. How do I get over this block and still move on and still be inspired and still present my best self? Even though I may not feel that it's my best this day, but it may be the best I have, and keep pressing forward. And to hear people's feedback has been very rewarding. Just, you don't know how many people are listening to you and how many people are encouraged just by your journey. And even in going through the last year, my dad's life, just sharing what it's like to care for an elderly parent and having my own fear and even in his passing. And I got really raw. I mean, one time I had like a breakdown on social media, but I thought it's okay because this is life. Life isn't always pretty. Sometimes it's messy.
Yeah. It's such a great point, LaWanna. And I remember one of those times when I remember watching it and the words came out of your mouth was, I think my dad is transitioning. And I thought to myself, that it takes so much for us sometimes just to put words to things, but to be able to share that in that moment, what you were trying to process, I thought was so powerful, and how people kind of, commented and really connected with you on that. I want to say for those who are just tuning in, welcome. Y'all are watching Cyrus Web Presents here on Amazon Live, but we're simulcasting it on social media. We're speaking to my friend, LaWanna Bradford. You all know her as a serial entrepreneur. She's a media personality in her own right, but also the author of as you can see there, the new Amazon bestseller, I Pledge Allegiance, A Journey Through the Words That Shaped a Nation. It's officially out in Kindle July 22nd. So depending on how you all are watching or listening to us, it may be available for pre-order, may be available to go ahead and order it now. LaWanna, looking at that screen, how does it feel to have an Amazon hot new release? Right now, your book's sitting at number 2.
It feels great. It has bounced from I was number 1 for 2 days, but I'll still take that and pat myself on the back. But I've been bouncing back and forth between 1 and 3, holding for about 4 weeks. And I then dropped, but then bouncing back. And it's exciting to just watch this happen and realizing that it's piquing curiosity.
Yeah. So let's talk more about the book itself. I Pledge Allegiance. So you take, as you mentioned, these words, and you're able to not only to think about the words, to talk about the words, but also give a call to action. Talk to us about that part, because I think for so many people, LaWanna, we live in a world that unfortunately people want to be told what to do. And which is how we end up in very dangerous positions sometimes when we give up so much of our power. We don't want to do anything ourselves. We just say, well, you just do it. I'll give all this power to you. What do the words mean to you, LaWanna, when it means to embracing your own power and your own call to action?
Is it okay if I read one section of the book?
Oh, definitely, sure, of course.
Answer that?
Yeah.
I said, that's what I ask myself when I look at the flag. My red, white, and blue carries a meaning that is perhaps profoundly different from those longing for a golden age. I do not believe America has reached its pinnacle, her brilliance, and her breathtaking potential. However, it flickers like a distant star. Yet I still pledge allegiance, not to man, not to a system, not to wealth or influence or fear. I pledge allegiance to the ideals, the dignity of the human spirit, the power of community, the relentless hope woven through our diversity. I pledge allegiance to we the people, a nation born of slaves and settlers, of indigenous people, of immigrants and refugees, to the hands that built this country and the voices that still fight for it. I pledge allegiance to my neighbor, to my community, to this great land, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. I pledge allegiance not to what it is, but to what it could be if only we dared to be. So it was a reflection in writing this of these words and really looking at, when I say I'm an American, when I say that I really care about my neighbor, what does that mean? Is it just words that I recite thousands and thousands of times like many of us have done? Or is it something I believe in, a truth that I live because that truth aligns with my values? So the call to action for everyone is the way this book was written, Cyrus, is in a very deliberate style. It's done in an interrogative style, meaning you are asking yourself these questions as the reader. And there are a lot of questions peppered throughout because I'm taking you through how I unpackaged it for myself. And you may not end up where I did. It's not trying to lead anyone. But at the end of the day, I know that every person who reads it will have a true answer for themselves in their truth, where they stand, and being willing to defend and stand whatever that position may be. And so that's the call to action, is be willing to ask yourself the hard questions, be willing to stand for your truth, and be willing to defy indoctrination if you so choose.
Power of the Pen with LaWanna Bradford, expanding the impact and influence of authors from around the world. If you want to change the world, pick up your pen and write, said Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Books are uniquely portable magic. Power of the Pen spotlights authors from around the world. Listen as authors share messages that educate, motivate, inspire, and entertain. Join us each Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern on e360tv.com.
I have something real exciting to share with you. My book actually has a song. Yes, I have a song for my book. And I'm going to pull it up for you in just a moment. And play a couple of key photos. And these photos are because this book, if you see right there, man, saluting, is my father, the late Sergeant Major Harlan L. Bradford Sr. And my journey with him as my mentor, my coach, my friend, really placed within me the heart of a patriot. I always tell people that if you had cut Dad, he would have bled red, white, and blue. And, you know, I get that honestly. I truly love this country and have a belief in the hope and the promise that it holds for each of us. And some of you may agree or disagree. That's not what this is all about. But this book, let me just give you a little bit of insight before playing the song. The book, as I said, was an introspective journey that I was taking. It was my journal. And then from there, as I began to unpackage some truths and realization for myself, I thought, let's share this with everyone. Because when you think about it, the Pledge of Allegiance here in the United States is something, as from childhood in our schools, we recited over and over and over again, literally thousands and thousands of times that we say this pledge. And when you think about impressions, right? And the things that we say and how it impresses our subconscious, I began to question how that may have shaped me, my perceptions of things, my resistance to things, my questioning of things. And so in this book, you will find peppered throughout questions that I have, questions that I asked myself, that until I was able to comfortably answer them, I didn't feel that I could say this book was complete. And so in this journey, if you will, the reader will find themselves asking themselves the same questions. But guess what? The beauty of it is it's like a fingerprint, because you are an individual and you've had your own lived experiences and you have your own thoughts, value systems, expectations, beliefs. You are going to come out of the other end of reading this book different. Now, what that difference means, I don't know, because everyone is different. But I don't believe that you can actually go through the stories that I unpackage, asking yourself certain questions, and in the book as the same way that you began reading the book. As I mentioned in a couple of my interviews, individuals may not end where I ended, and that's okay. But it is something that makes us sit back and think about just our whole belief system. Where does it come from? Are we merely creatures of indoctrination and we just follow the crowd? I don't know. But what I realized is that if you had asked me a couple of years ago if I felt that I had been in part of a system of deep indoctrination, I would have said, absolutely not. What are you talking about? No, we live in the United States of America. No, we're not a socialist or communist country. No. But as I started to unpackage the backstory behind the Pledge of Allegiance, I realized, yes, there is seeds of indoctrination here. And there is a reason, right? There's a method behind all of this. And we will get to that in just a moment.
From the segregated military to modern movements for justice, this book uplifts the stories often left in the margins. With a rare blend of poetic grace and historical insight, Bradford moves beyond retelling American ideals. She reimagines them through the lived lens of those too often pushed to the margins. Black women who carried burdens and dreams, indigenous ancestors whose sacred truths still echo, immigrant allies who stood shoulder to shoulder Patriots who, despite betrayal, still believed in the promise of America. I pledge allegiance is a love letter to resilience, a reckoning with history, and a call to rise, not with bitterness, but with clarity, conviction, and hope. It's a reminder that patriotism is not silence, it is speaking truth while holding the flag in one hand and faith in the other.
That is my song. I pledge allegiance, and it really speaks to the cry to be recognized as Americans, not just in word, but in action and in celebration, and embracing truly who we say we are. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and with liberty and justice for all. I want to take a moment to just encourage you to go to Amazon and get your copy. You can download it for $4.99 today. Your Kindle version, paperback, will be available a little bit later, and you will be able to go through your own personal journey. It is an interactive book. And one of the things that I say here is the issues of today are loud and urgent. We recognize that, right? We're not in denial. We don't have our heads buried in the sand. We get it. As Marvin Gaye said back in the 70s, what's going on? Well, we are in that what's going on phase. And we're feeling more divided than ever before. But what matters to me in this moment is the mirror, the reflection of ourselves in the words we say over and over again. And recognizing, what does it really mean? How do I show up in my truth and my value system? Does it align with this Pledge of Allegiance? And if so, how do I demonstrate it in my family? How does it become this ripple effect in the community, the nation, and the world? I want to tell you just a little bit about the Pledge of Allegiance. Before I started digging, I was thinking it had been around a lot longer than it actually had, but 1892, right? Shortly after slavery. And I wondered, okay, that's kind of interesting. Why? What was the significance of the year 1892? Well, that was the 400th anniversary of when Christopher Columbus discovered America. And the school system, the educational system of the US at that time, said, we want to embrace this, celebrate this holiday, but do so in a way where everyone is kind of on the same page, i.e., it's indoctrination, but let's not say that. Because at that time, there was a growing number of immigrants in this country. And they wanted to find a way to bring everyone together, corral them in nicely, and place them in this box of what America was. That's in essence what it was about. And so Francis Bellamy actually wrote the Pledge of Allegiance. He was a socialist Christian, and a Baptist minister. So in 1892, we started to pepper this throughout the United States, and soon it became part of our educational structure. And if you're like me, you went through this. You said the Pledge of Allegiance day in and day out. But I don't know about you, but at that early age, and even I was thinking later on, was it ever really explained to me the background and the why and how it had changed over the years? Because see, when it first began, it was, I pledge allegiance not to the flag, but to my flag. It was celebrating at that time the diversity of the communities that were becoming part of our melting pot. But then the powers that be said, no, we don't want to celebrate everyone's backgrounds and cultures. Let's not do that. Let's make it very specific and say to the flag, one flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, the republic, the government entity, the people, we the people. And we know so many people don't feel like we, those marginalized communities, are being seen, being recognized. It's like, when are you going to recognize me as an American, as part of the fiber of this country? And so this book takes you through a little backwards glance as to what happened in history, how things may have been misinterpreted, right? When we look at certain acts of defiance, we hear that, someone is not respecting the flag. They're taking a knee. They're pulling up, the Black Power sign on the Olympic stage. What is going on? But when you understand the backstory and you understand the why, you realize, no, it's not defiance in the sense you're thinking of. It's saying, wait a minute, we're saying the flag, the pledge represents something, but we, part of the people, are not feeling that it is paying us the same type of respect. We are asking, we are demanding that this pledge, this flag, be all that it says that it can be, all that we believe and hope that it can be. Because the pledge, it's an ideal, it's hopeful, right? And that's what the foundations of it came from. But then it didn't say one nation under God in the original version. That wasn't until 1954 when Eisenhower, and we're now post World War II and we're dealing with the Cold War. It's like, okay, we've got this pledge. We need to make sure that we know very clearly there's that side of the coin. And then here we are. We're a Judeo-Christian country, and we want to make sure that that's very clearly stated in what we say over and over and over again. So that, in a nutshell, is the history of how the pledge came about, and its root in indoctrination, whether we want to recognize it or not. But this journey in this book, it's not a partisan conversation. It's not even a political conversation. It is me looking at life through my lived experience. It's me taking a backwards glance in that rearview mirror and assessing the journey that we have taken and asking myself as we look forward, we today who have responsibility and accountability, where will we be on the other side of history? How will we be reflected? Will we be individuals who truly can say, yes, we lived this belief system here. We truly lived one nation under God. We truly lived as the United States of America that is indivisible. We truly live the United States of America that believes in justice and liberty for all. Because honestly, right now, we're not there yet. Doesn't mean we can't get there in time, however long that may be. But right now, it feels like we're doing a little backpedaling. And that can be very frightening for some people. And I unpacked some of that conversation in this book. But we're going to take a little bit of break, and we'll be back where you can hear some input from other individuals who have read book, and also from one of my key partners who helped me in celebrating and amplifying the message in this book. And right now, to our sponsor, my company, the Bradford Group, which is a commercial and investment mortgage company. Okay, I want to, I always think about there's no great opportunity in a book signing or any sort of promotional, but to take a moment and read something about your book. Well, I want to read this one section, and this is where I talk about what the book is, how you can use it, how you can benefit from it and grow from it. I said, this book is not to be read passively. It is meant to be entered, sat with, wrestled with. It calls not just for your attention, but for your presence. Not just for agreement, but for honest interrogation of what the Pledge of Allegiance means to you today, in this season, in this body, in this America. Each chapter opens up a phrase from the pledge, not as rote recitation, but as a living question. What does this promise ask of me? Where do I see myself in these words? And where do I feel left out? How do I carry liberty, justice, unity, and faith in my home, my work, and my community? See, these questions are not rhetorical. They are doorways to a deeper truth. They are meant to stir your spirit, challenge your assumptions, and expand your understanding, not just of this nation, but of yourself. I did not write this book to deliver answers. I wrote it to spark reflection, to create a space where our lived experiences, Black, Brown, Indigenous, Asian, immigrant, soldier, mother, teacher, child, all can gather around the same fire and ask, what does allegiance look like when it is rooted in truth? This book is for the young and the seasoned, for the students and the veterans, for families seeking language for difficult conversations, and for individuals ready to confront the gap between the ideal and the real. It is meant to be shared, read aloud, underlined, discussed, and passed down. I wrote this as a daughter of a Buffalo soldier and a U.S. Army veteran of over 30 years. And Dad always said, don't forget the 30 days. As a Black woman who has tasted both the promise and the pain of this country. I wrote it not to condemn or to glorify, but to reflect, to reckon, and to remember. I wrote it so that we might together reimagine what it means to pledge our allegiance, not just with words, but with our lives. So don't just read this book, enter it. Let it be your mirror, your compass, your call. Sit with the answers. Wrestle in the silence. And when you are ready, stand tall in your truth and pass it on. Because this is not just my story. This is our America. And the next generation is listening. That's the essence of this book. As I said, it's something to enter in, to be reflective, to contemplate on, to ask yourself the tough questions, to align it with your truth, sort of your day of reckoning, if you will. And then decide for yourself, what are the next steps? Is this an opportunity, as Congressman John Lewis said, to get into trouble, good trouble, necessary trouble? Or will you be complacent and be fine being on the sidelines? Or will you be one to ensure that you stand up with a voice that is rooted in truth, that will not be silent or sidelined, in order to ensure that our America is one that is sustained, enhanced, and improved for generations to come, so that it becomes an America that truly is that beacon on a hill, that symbol of hope and promise for the world. not just in word, but in deed. We will be back in a moment as I will share some insights from other individuals who have graced my stage and have shared their time with me. And I have none other than an amazing celebrated author herself, Miss Cornelia, also known as Connie Brown, who is here to tell me a little bit about why she decided to pre-order this book.
Well, first of all, I want to congratulate you. It is a super awesome title. And immediately when I saw it, it spoke to me. It spoke to my heart, because I am now, this is my 12th year being an American. And so I am one of those that had to stand there and pledge the allegiance and renounce my birth country and pledge the allegiance to the United States of America. So what this did, I love things that trigger conversation. I was like, I wonder where she's coming from with that. And because you have such an intriguing way of looking at the world, you're not just looking at it one way, but you including all of us. You have such a broad horizon. You're such a deep well. So I knew already it would go bestseller as soon as you mention it. But I was like, okay, so how did I feel? It took me back to that moment when I recited it. I was so nervous, I almost passed out right at that moment. However, what it meant for me at that moment is coming to a place of unity, coming to a place where we say indivisible. I didn't even know what that meant, not divided. And then in my heart, as I raised my hand, I felt a little twinge. And I was like, okay, I'm going to pledge the allegiance, and I'm going to pray that we all going to continue working at this harder at every moment. And then, of course, in nowadays, where we find us in 2025, we really have to reopen that conversation. And so that's what it triggered in me, a massive amount of mixed emotions. And I spoke to my husband about it, and he said, "What are you doing now?" And I said, "I can't wait for Miss LaWanna's book." I was like, but it just triggered such emotions in me when I was standing there. And when I knew we are not as unified as we should be, we are not as indivisible as we would like to be. And so that's what triggered it in me.
All right, I really appreciate it, and I so value your opinion, because many people may not know who are watching this. You're also an advocate and an ally for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And you have numerous books, from children's books to, just those deep thinking relationship books on where we really stand with each other and accepting one another as they are. And the fact that you are a naturalized citizen, I should say, your input meant a lot to really hear from that perspective, right? Because when we're in a country, sometimes we take so much for granted. And like you said, you were standing there and you're pledging, but you still weren't certain of what the words meant. And that's what this book does. It takes people through the journey to say, do we really know what it means, or are we just conditioned to just keep saying it over and over again, but we don't really know?
Absolutely powerful. And I cannot wait to have discussions, because I love bringing books in and just having my circle of friends, the multitude of hodgepodge of humanity around me, and discuss that. So again, incredible title. And yes, do we really know what that means? And do we have it in here? Do we just have it up here? But do we really have it in here? So
Yes.
congratulations. And I know it's going to go straight up to the stratosphere.
Well, thank you so much. And I want to just let people know, if you want to follow a brilliant author, if you're someone who is for inclusion and you want to have those conversations, reach out to Cornelia Brown. She has numerous books, again, children's books, as well as books for your adult readers. And her latest, Edelweiss and Collard Greens, is available on Amazon. So I've read that and it's great. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And folks, get your copy, latest release, I Pledge Allegiance, A Journey Through the Words That Shaped the Nation, available on Amazon. As you can see, we did hit #1 in new release. We're bouncing between 1 and 3, but we're excited that we do hold the title of bestseller of new release, and also have ranked as high as number 39 of the top 100 in history and race relations category on Amazon. So we're real excited. Thank you again, Connie, for joining us, and I will see you soon.
God bless everyone.
Thank you. And this is none other than the amazing Carmen Trimble. Carmen is a Carmelita, let me give you her full name. Trimble is a serial entrepreneur, as well as a real estate investor. And we want to find out what prompted Carmelita to press buy now. Carmen, what do you have to say for us?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me and allowing me to give my opinion about your book, which is excellent. I know it's going to be excellent because all of your books are. What made me press it, the title, I Pledge Allegiance, that took me back to childhood. It took me back to now, and everything in between, as far as our place in society, the importance of having an allegiance to our country in the midst of everything that's going on. So I was just very curious as to what can she say to kind of make everybody okay or understand or just whatever about this, and those words that we all spoke and still, pledge in school. So yeah, that's kind of what made me say, hey, I really, really want to read this book the second it is available. Yes.
Oh, I'm excited that you did. As you can see, we were already went to Amazon, #1 in the new release under history of ethnicity and race relations. We have been floating between 1 and 3 position, and then for total Amazon books in this category, we went as high as 39 in the top 100. So I'm just real excited about that, and I thank you so much for your support. And is there anything else that you want everyone to know before we sign off?
Buy the book. I mean, I think, it's gonna be a catalyst to a lot of thought-provoking conversations about what those words, how many words did you say there were, LaWanna? How many, is it 27, our Pledge of Allegiance? However many words are in there, how important those words are then and now in the midst of everything. And I'm just know that you're going to say something that's going to spark a lot of conversation. It's going to be positive. So I'm looking forward to it, and just so pleased that you took the time to do that.
Thank you. Thank you so much for just coming on for my book launch. I'm real excited, and we will stay in touch, and can't wait till you get to the final page to give me your full review.
Absolutely. I can't wait either. I think I know I won't be able to put it down. I know I can't. I'm not going to be able to put it down.
Well, thank you
Yes.
so much, Carmen.
You're welcome.
This has been amazing. I want to first say thank you so very much for the opportunity to just be your host on Business and Financial Raw Talk, coming to you every single week. And I want to thank you and those who have supported me along this journey, for those who have purchased my book, for those who will soon purchase the book. Thank you so very much. And I want to read one part before I go of this book, one little chapter. And you can always go to Amazon.com if you want to read a sample of this. And I want to say this, and this is, I think it's important to remind you that I'm not a historian or a political science enthusiast. I'm only someone whose curiosity was piqued by cataclysmic moments, moments of that day. A shift had occurred, not just around me, but within me. And I'm referring to the moment that I watched on TV where something shifted. I didn't want to simply watch the noise of the day's headlines or be swept up in the tidal wave of opinions and rhetoric. I felt compelled to pause and to seek, to examine the foundational truths I had always taken for granted. I wasn't looking to make a political statement. I was searching for understanding, for grounding. I wanted to know where these words came from, why we still say them, and what they ask of us now. The questions in my mind were no longer just quiet musings. They became urgent, pressing, and alive. My own brother became a naturalized citizen, though born to American parents. He still had to go through that process because of the way laws were written at that time. Those laws have since shifted, but it made me think, if laws can change or access can change, identity can change, or at least what the nation calls you can. I remember a conversation with my dad during the height of COVID. When we talked about identity, he said, when I was born, we were Black, then we were colored. His birth certificate said so. Since then, we've been Negro, Black, Afro-American, African-American, and now it's / African-American Black. Every generation given a new name, but never quite just American. So when we say one nation, were we ever really? Because our American identity was often wrapped in qualifiers based on where we were born or where our ancestors came from. And that's complex. There's nothing wrong with honoring our roots, celebrating the strength and resilience in our blood. But I wonder, does this create internal conflict? Or is it a call to see the full, brilliant mosaic of this country? This nation has always been a paradox, equal parts hope and heartbreak, promise and pain. But somehow every school child, no matter the color of their skin, no matter their origin, was taught to stand with their hand over their heart or salute with solemnity over offering a gesture of surrender and respect to a flag that represents more than a nation. It represents an ideal. One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Those words have grown heavier over time, yet more sacred. And now I find myself not just reciting them, but interrogating them, embracing them, wrestling with them, and ultimately believing in them with my whole heart. This book is born out of that reckoning. It's the journey of a Black woman, a patriot, a daughter of a Buffalo soldier, an American searching for meaning to a pledge I've known and recited through rote memory all my life. But I can now humbly say that I didn't have the depth of knowledge that I do since writing this book. You'll notice there are going to be questions, as I mentioned, but it's by design. And as I mentioned, it's not a passive reading experience. The internal questions echo something I remember from The Matrix. Trinity doesn't offer Neo all the answers. She offers the right questions, because the real answers, they're not handed to us. They're uncovered, they're wrestled with, they are lived. So as you read, don't rush past the questions. Sit with them, revisit them, use them as mirrors. The answers, should we dare seek them, are already stirring within each of us, waiting for voice. As I went on this journey of self-discovery, I came to my truth. When I place my hand over my heart today, I do so not out of habit, but with intention. Thank you so very much for joining me for this special edition. You can get your copy of I Pledge Allegiance, A Journey Through the Words That Shaped the Nation on Amazon. Thank you again for your support. Be safe, be well, and remember that in life and in business, when your vision intersects with opportunity, success is inevitable. Bye for now.